Ari!
Yes, Des?
What's a chrononaut?
A chrononaut is a time traveler.
Wow! I want to be a time traveler!
Ha! You can't.
Boo!
But our listeners can by listening to Time Pop. We record a podcast at a specific time and place.
And then the listeners can travel back and join us whenever they want?
Exactly!
So listen to Time Pop. We dive into a time travel-inspired pop culture property, usually a movie.
We discuss the laws of the universe and then uncover all the holes left in the world.
Time Pop! New episode every other Wednesday, plus dozens of classic episodes you and your ears can travel to anytime. I am Des.
And I'm Ari.
And this is Time Pop!
Hello, gorgeous beasts. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast and enjoying it and staying with us and doing deep woo-woo stuff while at the same time getting your laugh on with Cassidy and myself. We want to let you know before the podcast today that I'm doing a 3-day healing retreat in Mancos, Colorado, known to many a spiritual practitioner as the womb of the world. We have room for 10 people to join us on this 3-day healing retreat, during which time I will be channeling all of the different light beings that desire to come through. So different races of light beings exist, like the Mintakans and the Pleiadians and the Syrians and the Lyrans. And they like to show up and contribute high vibrational healing energy. So what we'll do is November 6th through 8th, you'll join us in person here in Mancos, Colorado. We've got discounted hotel rooms for you all set up. It'll be stunningly gorgeous and crazy high vibe. And this is for people who are looking for healing, integration, and or to know God and the divine more intimately. You don't have to be traumatized to be on a spiritual path, and being traumatized is kind of helpful when you're on a spiritual path. So join us November 6th to 8th, Mancos, Colorado. Email me if you're interested. klrubin@gmail.com. That's K as in kiss, L as in love, RUBIN @gmail.com.
Welcome to that spiritual, actual, factual answers to questions you're asking. You find them inside you, recite you, reciting the records of cash. We laughing, we drafting the passion through various time for that comedy, dramedy. All of the fanciest, catchiest acronyms. Listeners, listen, we traveling. Consciousness is always unraveling. The reading you're having is mapping you back to your natural habitat. Abracadabra, it's magicless, passionate. To top it off, the host, all the classiest. Now, what were you asking for? All of the answers? What? All the answers.
I don't know if this is going to be the starting of your show or not, but can I ask what the hell you're doing in Colorado?
Yeah, fuck yeah. That's a perfect start.
Fuck
Perfect.
yeah. Why are you in Colorado?
Why the fuck are you in Colorado? Maybe that's the title of this week. Well, you guys remember the story from 2018 where I had the date and I saw the future, and the future was that the fall of 2020 would be very bad in California.
Mm-hmm.
That 60% of the state would be consumed in flames from fires. Remember that? Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember when I said that a long time ago?
Yeah. It was actually the episode that came out this last Saturday. So,
Is that right?
yeah.
I got a lot of people messaging about it. People were like, I'm a little scared now. Can we have a session? And I was like, that was not my aim, but sure. I didn't want to terrify.
Capitalize on their
Yeah,
terror.
like, let me terrify you into doing some healing work. Anyway, so when that happened in 2018 and I got that download, I started at that time looking at the question of, well, where the fuck am I going into the fall of 2020? Because I don't really want to be in California when all that's happening. Because with how sensitive my system is, it's like intense for me to be in that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, ever since then, I've been getting the same answer, which is the southwest corner of Colorado, specifically this town called Cortez, which is about 10 minutes up the road from where I'm sitting right now. I'm in a town called Mancos right now. And so I came out here in December, and I came out here one other time only for like a day and a half, 2 days. And then this time I decided to come out for 3 weeks and just sit here and be like, okay, is this for real? So I asked the record keepers, of course, like, when should I go out? And they gave me a very specific date to leave. And it was the day before the fires started. I had no idea there were going to be fires. I just was driving out. And then all of a sudden I'm getting all these texts from PG&E, and it was like, your electricity is going to go out because it's so hot. We're going to conserve electricity. And then another text like huge fire. And then another text. Did you guys know there's a number over 6,000 fires in California right now today?
Right. If they break down the sort of group fires into their individual components, it's insane.
I'm like, how do you separate a big ass fire into, how do you know how many? Yes. How do you know? Yes. How do you know how many fires there are? Like a fire, you know what I mean? If there's like 9 fires next to each other, is that 9 fires?
Right.
Anyway, I saw this thing on CNN, and it was like, California reports 6,724 fires.
I saw a thing the other day that said, at least on that particular day, that California had the worst air quality in the world that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, interestingly, anyway, that's why I'm in Colorado, is because I'm trying to follow the record keepers. They told me to come here.
Mhm.
I still feel my mind and my body, are often like, what the fuck are you saying? I don't want to leave California. All my friends everything's there. I've been there 17 years. And yet, I have a track record of like, things go better for me when I follow this energy, obviously, right? B, as I was driving out of the state, I always have this experience when I leave California where I cross the state line, and it's not always exactly right at the state line, but it's like, there's a point in the car when I'm driving where all of a sudden I feel this huge weight lift off my body. And I'm like, oh, there I am. And I can like feel myself again. And I feel 40 pounds lighter. Just everything feels easier in my body. And then I realize, I'm out of California. And that's not because there's like some big, terrible badness of California. It's just the overpopulation. And right now, what's happening is so extra big, the population and the stuff, it's so much bigger there that my system is just so freaking sensitive. That anyway, the other interesting piece was that I drove through Nevada, Utah, and into Colorado, and this was the most distinct. This was the time of driving where I was able to, like, there would be a moment in time and I'd be like, we must have just crossed a state line. Like, I would just feel it in my body.
Interesting.
Like the energy completely would change. And I'm very curious to discover, as I explore this more, like, it can't be that that's happening on the man-made state lines. Like, that feels a little weird.
Except perhaps there's something about yes, the man-made state line exists.
Yeah.
And either that was driven by some other force, or just the sort of our collective consciousness around having drawn those delineations.
Right.
Have like, sort of drawn spiritual lines just by our collective awareness of them.
And the collective consciousness of the town or the state, like
right.
What that's like. Driving into Utah was wild because I haven't spent a lot of time in Utah before, and it was such a different energy than Nevada. I was describing it to another healer friend, and I was saying it felt like really light, high vibrational space alien energy, kind of like that Yvonne stuff we did a few sessions back where the Mintakans came, and it was like super light, and I was having trouble keeping up because they were so fast and light. You remember that one? It felt like that. And then I got into Colorado, and it feels in Colorado like if you could imagine like what the earth as a spiritual entity would feel like green grass and rolling hills and the light and the spirit of the earth, very like wet and earth and heart. Different, not spacey. It was so interesting. So anyway, here I sit kind of waiting to see something, but some miracles have happened I was going to tell you guys about since I got here, which is kind of interesting. So I get here, right?
Did you give virgin birth? Is that what happened?
I gave virgin birth. Yeah. The dog and she's a female, but we figured a way. We had sex, the dog.
On the spiritual plane.
Energetically. Yeah.
Right.
Just
You're not weird.
No, it's not weird. It was just a different dimensional kind of sex. And then she impregnated me, and now I have a child.
Which is just an orb of purple light.
Exactly. Okay, so I get to Memphis, Colorado, which is a tiny town. I pull in, it's late at night. The dog and I pass out in our room. The next morning, first thing I do is I go to this little tiny, like sort of like organic, gluten-free type grocery store that's 1 block away. I walk in, I'm buying some shit. The only other person in the grocery store is a lady in line next to me, and she's talking kind of loudly to the cashier about she's a realtor and she has some rentals and she doesn't know how to get rid of her rentals because nobody wants to rent right now. And I go, excuse me, I want to rent right now. We hit it off. Her name is Katie, for real. And then we hit it off so much that she feels like a bestie. Like I feel like I've known her forever. She connects me with her neighbor, who is a woman who made lots and lots of money in a business in Telluride that she sold a while ago, bought 20 acres of land. I met that lady the same day. Her name is Darcy. I went to see her 2 rental properties she has, one of which is a barn apartment above her barn on 20 acres with a creek out back, 2 horses underneath, huge sprawling apartment, gorgeous, $1,000 cheaper than what I pay in California. Acres and acres of the most stunning land you've ever seen. And I was like, and I'm in. She goes, oh, but it's not available till October 15th. I hope that's okay. And I go, you want to know the day that my lease ends? October 15th. So then this is my first day here. So then Katie, the realtor who had connected me to her, texts me out of the blue. She goes, by the way, just for apropos of nothing, she goes, in case Darcy's place isn't ready till October, I know someone who has a studio on a lake that is the most stunning view I've ever seen for September. And I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, it's going to be like $700 though. And I was like, you mean what I'm paying for a week in my hotel room? Sure. Fine. What? So, I mean, if signs are a real thing and if God is real, I mean, it couldn't be unfolding more fluidly. I made friends with like 8 people. I was at somebody's like cider building restaurant they're making, and they were like, come back and make the cider with us. They're like my new best friends. I'm going to Durango tonight because like my neighbors from Benicia in California live there now. And they're like, come over and see the dog people. It's like weirdly just, I have like this life. I'm like busy and I have like appointments. I don't know, man. It's crazy. Then of course it's compounded by the fact that I get here and I'm going like miracle, 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 miracle. And then I look at California and it's on fire where all my objects are and where my cat is.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a lot. Emotionally, like a lot, but spiritually feels like pretty clear signs.
Well, I envy that having, you know, in a sense, having an escape place, and that but it feels positive. It doesn't just feel like a hidey hole.
Right.
It feels magical. Like I definitely hit the wall last night. I've been doing really well about just feeling, you know, just keep doing work and keep active and keep working on, you know, do your meditation. And we can talk about that later. My 30 days, 30-minute challenge.
Oh yeah.
But I just got sad. That's just it. It's all that it was. I finally just and it was just fire and reading about people losing their home and more. And it's just nowhere near, and they can't control it because they don't have enough fire workers, because they draw their fire workers from the prison population who are now locked down with COVID and also need to be evacuated, but they're not evacuating them because they're prisoners, even though they're in Solano. Like, there's so much, it just collapsed. It collapsed on top of me, and I just got really sad. That's all
Yeah.
That's it. And I was like, fuck it, I want out. Like, I want to go. I want to leave. Fuck.
Yeah. Quick question. Yeah. I want to come back to that. So they're not going to evacuate the prisoners?
Well, I was on the Surge Action Hour today, which is why I was late for this. meeting, which is a thing where a bunch of people get together and for an hour, they give us a script and say, hey, go make these calls, send these emails, do these actions that are being asked of by our partner organizations. It's a great org. It's basically an organization of white people doing racial and other kind of justice work, being led. Their partner orgs are the ones who sort of guide them, and those are all sort of BIPOC, POC-led orgs. So they say, tell us what to do, and they go, how about this? And we go, yes, and we go do that action. Wow. That was a short version. It's a really cool, it's just a way to spend an hour and be told, here's some actions you can take right now collectively.
Where can people listening go to find out?
Surge, SURJ. There are chapters all over the country. I do Surge Bay Area. There's also a national chapter that does National Wednesday type action hours I just found out about. I'm a pod leader now, so I sort of help facilitate we break into smaller little intro groups just to say, hey, how's it going? What do you need? Are you there? Welcome. Then we go back to the big group, do the actions.
Wow.
It's pretty great. Anyway, that's why I was late. But the thing today is finding out that is calling for a demand, and I don't know how they're going to do it. Where do they take them? But they're not. They're literally the evacuation orders go up to their gates. Basically, the addresses are like everything around this prison. You have to evacuate. Here's some N95 masks to the prisoners as embers fall in the prison yard. So.
We're not talking about San Quentin, though. We're talking
about the Solano.
Okay.
One near Fairfield. Is bad. And one of them, it's a medical facility even. So you've got, it's a prison medical. So it's mostly people who are more vulnerable. Like, it's just bad. It's just nothing good. It's good. Everything is bad. I'm sad. So anyway, by the time people hear this, that issue will have resolved into some version of something, but there will be more. So
yeah,
I recommend. It's also, I knew waking up today that I'd be able to do Surge, and that actually helped me going to bed. I was like, I'm sad. What can I do? I know I'll get to do that work tomorrow, and that'll help a little.
I really appreciate that you're doing political help, socially, all the things you're doing, Cass.
Yeah.
That's so good.
It's something.
Yeah, I know.
It's something.
Right. It's like when I dated a person who's a dear friend of mine now years ago. And I remember one time, it was like in my 20s, and I said, I don't know, we were up against Bush or something, some bad, we thought a bad president is scary. Now it feels like there was like a kitty cat in the fucking White House.
Yeah.
Anyway. And I was saying something like, I'm scared or I'm angry or whatever. And he said, well, I'm going to the polls. You can make calls with me. I'm going to make calls. He's like, better to take action than to sit around and be upset about it. Like, what can you do? What can you do? A lot of times we say, what can you do? And we shrug our shoulders.
Yeah.
But there's also, what can you do?
Right. Literally, what can you do?
Yeah, there are things.
Not what are you going to do?
Yeah, there's things you could do. Yeah, for sure.
I'm really grateful for orgs like that are like helping people who are just kind of flailing around. I'm not a armor-wearing anarchist who's going to go on the front lines, but I want to do something. So
yeah, man, fucking A.
And in the meantime,
yeah, I apparently am just fleeing. That's what I'm doing. Just flee.
You're relocating in order to continue to do the work from a place you can do it from.
No, that's definitely true. And actually, there's like all kinds of deep stuff about this for me. Just like, my energy field needs to be in a space where it can do the blah, and then it's being nurtured so that I can keep contributing to get this last piece of synchronicity. So I get to the farm, which she shows me the place, and I'm like, I'm in love with both the cabins. They're both adorable. And we're chit-chatting, and she goes, oh yeah, by the way, other Katie, told me you're a healer. I go, yeah. She goes, we're starting a healing center here on the land, right there.
Your face in a hole.
She points to an area of grass, like over there. She goes, I hope that wouldn't be a problem. And I go, no.
Can I join?
Yeah, I go, no. And she goes, okay, cool. I mean, I didn't know. I don't want to be presumptuous, but if you wanted to be a part of it, we can start to have that conversation. And I'm like, who's running it? She's like, I don't know, Katie, who is running it? And I'm like, okay. So I have like a job. I don't know. But that's a conversation we're going to have. She also the following night had me over for like dinner, and there were dogs, and my dog played with the people, and we had fun times. And then she's like, how about Saturday we go out on the boat on the lake? And I'm like, okay. It's just, yeah, I don't even know yeah. But here's the weird part. And then we can kind of use this as an awkward segue into bringing Anurag on, is that like, I've been talking with a couple friends about the weirdness of how it can be, and I want people to hear this because I think people sometimes think that if things are in alignment and things are happening easily, then you're going to feel happy all the time and like feel good all the time. And the fact is like, I'm simultaneously watching these miracles occur around me and going like, fuck, thank you, God. Thank you, God. And simultaneously going, I miss my ex-boyfriend. I'm sad about California. Where the fuck am I? I'm in the middle of fucking nowhere. Like, where do I live? Like, it's a lot emotionally, even though all this cool stuff is like falling in my lap, it's still a lot to process on the emotional level. So I say that for people who might be listening who think like, wait, I'm having a sad feeling. Does that mean? And people tend to think it means like, I'm not on my spiritual path, or I'm not high vibe, or I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, emotional processing is just emotional processing. And simultaneously, you can be super high vibe and super in the flow. And it took me a long time to learn that. I think a lot of people know that organically, but I didn't. I sure had to come to understand that. And the last piece is like, people do a lot of this stuff in the spiritual worlds about like, everything is positive thinking, and everything's always about like, people like police their thoughts so rigidly because they're like, well, I don't want to put negative energy out there, but I had a sad feeling on Tuesday. I'm so sorry. Cancel, light, everything's working. Positivity. And it's like
toxic positivity.
Yeah, man, you don't have to do that. You get to be like right here, right now with whatever's happening in your body. And if you have a spiritual connection, spirit will contribute, and you're aligned, and they're co-concurrent. Yeah, toxic positivity.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, I know we're bringing Anurag on, but
Yeah.
I had dropped the little nugget, and if we can get to it at some point, we can. It'd be an interesting conversation, and it has to do with this sort of 30-day 30-minute challenge that I've started on. So, I have definitely meditated every single day for over 2 weeks, which is huge.
That's enormous.
30 minutes? Not necessarily. Anywhere from the shortest I did one day where I literally was like 5. That's all I could pull off. And another day where it was like some days where it's been like 15 or 20 or 13, which is a number I like to play with. Like if I'm doing a quickie, 13 is my number because I'm very enamored with that number. But and I've done several 30s, and they have gotten easier. But I'll just share, and maybe this is part of the topic, and it's relative to the toxic, the happy joy thing. Like I'm grasping for a quote spiritual experience, and I am still very much in a mental experience, very much. Every minute, I can be calm. I can get in touch. I can even occasionally hold an image in my third eye. I can sometimes feel it in my body a little bit, like a more of a feeling. I've yet to feel anything that felt akin to what my brain is saying. That's a spiritual experience. So this is just my struggle. And that's all. And I'm just aware at every minute.
What does the brain say about what the spiritual experience should feel like?
I feel like it should feel somewhat. It should feel somewhat unexpected. I feel like I want to have and I feel like it literally shouldn't locate itself in the top part of my head. Like that's where I put things is my brain. Yeah. And I feel like a spiritual experience would either create an internal visual that I could not see, and along with that, some sort of more unavoidable feeling in my body. That's my mental story. Thank you for asking. I hadn't thought of that.
Oh, good. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I do think that Yeah, this will be good to bring into the records. I think it'll come up somehow, but I don't think you're incorrect about the body part.
Yeah.
But what I know is that also, as you stay with the mind and it's like the mind will have a shift and you will drop into the body. It just may take way more time than you think it should.
Yeah.
I know.
I am magic buttoning. I'm like, where's the magic click over? When does it go? Ding, there it is. Oh, I see.
Yeah, 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 yeah. How's the red sandbag image?
It comes, I finally found a way, in a sense, to create it. I was having trouble like placing an image in a part of my body. I was like, I felt like I've never had this problem before. I've always been able to like follow a guided imagery and be able to be like, yep, there it is. Hoo ha. But I'm like, that's me making funny faces for those listeners, trying to like squeeze it down. But I found one. I was listening to a guided meditation on root chakra, and it started in the head and traveled down the spine, and I was able to use that. I was able to be like, take this orb and sort of slide it down your spine until it lands at the bottom.
Yeah.
So I'm able to kind of do that.
Yeah.
It's not super satisfying yet.
Yeah, I get that. It won't be for a while. And then I don't know if this does anything for you, but my personal experience is like there literally was a minute and a day where suddenly it was different.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, I don't think you're crazy for thinking like there's going to be this magic moment, because there are many. It just sucks when it isn't the day that you're in.
Yeah. So it is actually work, and you do actually have to practice. That's why they call it practice.
I know. I'm
actually the best one I had was on a hillside. I was up on a cliffside at Drake's Beach on Wednesday. And the wind was like 900 miles an hour. Like,
I was just out there. It's fucking windy. Yeah.
Yeah. And you had to like, sit on the bluff. Like, oh, I hope I don't blow off. But actually the wind was the best white noise, because I need white noise. I can't. Yeah. So far, I haven't been able to do it without white noise. And it was the best white noise. And I would go between closed eyes and open eyes, because I could gaze out at the ocean horizon. So that also felt able to connect. So I feel like that might have been the closest I came to feeling lost, which is what I'm also seeking. I'm seeking loss of self a little bit,
Yeah. That's an okay thing to seek. I mean, from the teachers I've worked with, they've always said, like, let there be a carrot that drives you, if you're seeking peace or lost or whatever, like, let that drive you forward. And as everything, don't discount anything along the way that occurs. But I mean, I don't know. I disagree with people who say like, just have no attachment to any outcome. You can't, the way I frame it is like, I can't decide the day the outcome I want should arrive, but I stayed on it until it arrived, because something in me knew that like, there's no reason why some people could attain peace within and some people couldn't. Why would it be the case that some spiritual sitters, meditators, chanters, whoever's could just come to like, oh, cool, I feel better, or heal your shit, and some people can't?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me. So I just was like, yeah, fuck everybody. I'm doing that. And it like, yeah, man. So anyway, I support you in being like, where's my magic button? And I'm committed to doing this work until I have it.
Right. And even then, once I have it, I can't then stop, because like, got it.
Yeah.
So I'm a little like, Jesus Christ, how do you literally carve out 30, you do an hour at least a day yourself, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And are there days that you miss it? That you you have to get up too early and get going too fast?
It's funny. Who was I telling? I think I was telling Yvonne this the other day, that over the last, 10 years, I didn't miss any days, because the only place I felt better, like the only time I have found any peace or light or freedom in life at all, is in that place. And I was so desperate to have that I was just like, why would I not? Like, right. I struggle with discipline with some other stuff, but with this, it was like, it would be like saying, like, you could either inhale oxygen today or not. What do you choose? And I'd be like, I think I'll just inhale oxygen, even if it takes time. But interestingly, in my case, it's like since things have gotten so much lighter in my body and I feel better, now I'm kind of going like, I don't really need to sit down, do I? Do I need to sit down? I'm like having my first more resistant times because I'm like, I'm fine. But then what'll happen now is when I do it anyway, because I'm habituated and I know better and I just do everything's so much better, even than like my baseline is good now, which is a miracle and took a long time. But also you can go higher than having a good baseline. So I'm like, okay, I'll just have an even better day and have more miracles show up. And luckily too, I have clients. So I feel obligated to be pretty aligned. So I don't show up like weird for people's work. So like I always do half an hour at least before I work with anyone. And I do it before we're gonna tape, these conversations, because it's just like, I don't want to fuck around with people's life.
Right.
I take really seriously when people come, that's why I get so cranky about like shitty psychics and like shitty healers who like are all about the sales and the ego and the whatever, because I'm like, people are coming to you desperate and afraid. I was that person. I needed people to literally save my life. So don't fuck around and be it's not about you. It's about help this person or don't say you can't. So anyway, that's where I feel kind of like,
wow. For some reason, that really just help this person or don't say you can is a woof. I don't know why that just hit.
Good. I'm glad. I love
I mean,
you.
that's what we were talking about in therapy yesterday was the idea of, for me, things that are very important. And I don't know how it's related, but like about like at its core thing, one of my triggers is like, oh, that's not what we agreed to. That's not what I expected. Whatever. If something happens that's like, I thought we'd agreed to this, and that is not what's happening. Now, I am fine with revisiting our agreement, but we don't just absolutely, I will negotiate till the cows come home. That's no problem. Yeah. But don't just betray the agreement.
Yeah.
And in a sense, that's kind of like what you're talking about. I think that's why that landed, because it was like, don't
totally get that.
It's fine if you're not going to help me, but don't say you can if you won't.
Dude, I love you. I totally identify with that. I feel like you're talking about integrity.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, because also like promises and commitments, like don't, and also politically right now, like everything in the world, if you look around, it's like comes down to people saying shit that isn't true or saying shit they're not going to do,
Yeah.
And it's like the whole world's problems are from lack of integrity, I feel.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Now, on the personal level, I'm working on not necessarily being triggered by that, being able to acknowledge, I'm feeling that because of this, and it actually isn't as big a deal as I mean it. Like that actually wasn't a betrayal, but I'm taking it as one or whatever. So that's but on the personal level is finding the perspective, but also being able to acknowledge, no, that's you demanding integrity, both of yourself and other people.
I would have to hear the specific situations you were talking about to have more. I'd love to kind of talk more about that another time, because depending on the situation, that's another thing in the spiritual worlds where I'm like, I get edgy, is that sometimes people think the solution to having a challenge with anything is like, just don't be triggered by that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, sometimes it's like, no, you got to dig into it to discover what's the trigger is. But other times it's just, actually the thing is a boundary needs to be set and somebody's not upholding their end of a bargain.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Well, I mean, going to the point of feel your feelings, which is pretty much the subtitle of this podcast. Like what I kind of came across was that like when I was being triggered, it was about time and schedule. And it was a thing about urgency of like, we got to go. And I was like, but what I did to calm myself down was to sit in judgment of those feelings, was to be like, it's no big deal. What are you freaking out? So that's me being in judgment of my own emotions and trying to rid myself of them.
Yep.
So that's awareness of the trigger and then judgment of the reaction. And then I felt shame later in the day for how I'd behaved and I had to deal with that. But what I would like to have done as I saw it coming was to just stop and sit and feel those feelings about what I was dealing with, process to get to the other side of the trigger, and not actually, I could then not be spun out by them.
Speaking of spun out,
Hey.
hi, Anurag. How are you? Can you say words for a second?
Words for a second.
Sassy. He's a sassy motherfucker. Welcome. Yeah, bitch.
Yeah, we cuss on this podcast. Warning.
It's about God and cussing. Well, I don't think Anurag is going to have a problem with that. From what I know about Anurag, I'm going to say a couple words I know about you, and then I'd love to hear the words you would say about you, Anurag. Anurag's been like a man about the world. He's been a coach, like a high-level coach, high-integrity coaching with people, facilitator of transformation, maker of a board game that has to do with transformation, app guy, made fuck tons of money, spent it all, made it again, been a wizard, like just
I didn't spend that much of it. I gave it away.
What?
I didn't spend that much of it. I gave it away I gave all my money away a couple of times.
Okay, well, let's start there. Who'd you give your money away to?
People's, the foundation here and there,
I don't know. I don't know anything about it. You're going to have to tell me with words.
Well, I just kind of gave it to at the moment, different things at different times. And it was like, back first time was like about 12, 13 years ago. And it doesn't really matter who I gave it to. Like the thing was about, at that time, it was like, I was like in this question with myself of like, what the, kind of like Zoolander, when he's looking at the puddle and he goes, who am I?
Uh-huh.
It's kind of like right there. It's like that. And so it's like, so I was, and I'd already been working for over a decade delivering this transformational hoo-ha and all that stuff. And there was something missing still, right?
Yeah.
Something not straight. Something was not straight.
Mm-hmm.
Like what the, and it's like, you're caught in the environment. Everybody's like, something is not right here. So I you got to pop outside of it, right? And then so I popped out and I go, there was a few different things about, like, I watched people, even my mentors talk about, like, you're deep in the heart of the work and you're talking to people and it's like, it's this and it's not about the money, for instance, right? It's about this and that, passion, this. I still saw them get hooked about money. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I saw people say, everything is as it should be. There's nothing wrong. And I still saw them get like triggered by what's wrong and be blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, so there's about 5 or 6 things like that for me that were like, say this, no, we're doing this. So I'm like, sort this shit out. So and I said, if I say this is my word, if I say this is who I am, that I got to be this stuff, or I say differently about who I am. So
we were, Anurag, just talking about this before you came on. The whole thing we've been talking about is, we're just talking about this. We're talking about integrity and how I was saying the sentence, don't tell me that you can help me if you can't help me. And if you say you can help me, go ahead and help me. It's not about your fucking ego, and it's not about whatever that some healers who get caught in their whole fucking, it's all about them and their marketing and their status and the whatever. And anyway, and then Cassidy was saying like, yeah, and that really touched him. And we were talking about how that's relevant for him. And then here you are talking about that. Could I ask a question about it? So I think what I'm hearing you say is that at the time you were doing a bunch of coaching work with human beings and the people around you were getting caught in the money stuff. And maybe I think I'm hearing you say that you yourself were getting caught on some pieces of it. And then you're like, in order to get uncaught, I'm hopping out of this. Or was it?
I was observing. It wasn't so much as I watched people getting like hooked by it, and I was caught, and I was like, I couldn't tell. I wasn't sure about myself, right?
Right.
But what I knew was I didn't want to say what I wasn't being.
Yes.
So I did a number of things. Money was only one of like 5 or 6 different things. There was 5 or 6 really universal conversations I heard people saying, not being.
And what were the 5 things you did, or the bunch of things you did?
One of them was I gave all my money away, went down to 0, because I needed to know that if I could say the words, it's not about the money. I needed to know that I could be it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And it was just like, so that was like, it was just about this. I can't remember all. Another one was, one of the most pivotal ones was there's this philosophy in the background of a lot of disciplines about everything is as it should be. There's nothing wrong here.
Right.
Everything as it should be.
Right.
Well, then why, all the people well, then why are we sitting around and judging people and like this and that? Okay. So, that was an interesting one. That was actually more of a struggle than the money one, for instance. Right. And it took me 8 or 9 months. I said, okay, if I'm going to say this, I'm going to motherfucking be it, or I'm not saying it ever again. And I went through many layers of this and meditation, nothing, and I could still, no, this is wrong, that's wrong, and I don't know how I say, but I stumbled across. I just tried so many things, and I stumbled across one. Like you pull a thread, right?
Yeah.
And one of the ones I pulled was this thing about what's natural, and I saw people saying this is unnatural. I go, what makes that unnatural? Like, anyways, so then I actually have, I don't know where, I have a bag of videotape somewhere because I went around with the video camera. I interviewed like hundreds of people and stuff like this to get this to this thing, which is I said, okay, so guys, if a spider catches a fly and sucks its blood and eats it, do you have a problem with that? No. Why? Because it's natural, right? It's a natural occurrence. Okay, cool. Well, about a killer whale chewing on a little baby cute furry seal, no problems, right? Why? Because it's natural. So,
Yeah.
But the thing is, we watch this stuff, and I go, so I choose these disruptive examples. So then I would say, okay, and remember, I did it with hundreds of people, lay people, scientists, everything. I go, so if I'm let me distill a long story short, right? So at the end of it, the universal view of what was natural is something that you could observe out there, right? It happened over and over, no intervention. Then you go, oh, that's natural because you observe it. That's what's happening, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So now, if you applied that rule to humanity, what would you say is natural?
Right. Anything that is occurring.
Everything that's happening. Yeah. How do you know? Because it's happening.
Yeah. So, okay.
Right?
What I'm hearing you talk about is it's sort of like a Vedanta non-dualist idea of like judgment.
Yeah, and I would even go one step further. Just don't call it anything.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just saying it for the people who know that word to give them context. It's just.
Yeah, I would tell all those people, forget those words. Go sit under a tree.
I understand. But
I know,
listen,
and I'm going to mess with you. I know because I'm so committed to people living this shit, whether they understand it or not.
Well, to make the point, though, what I'm getting at is there's a whole group of people called Vedantists, and there's a whole group of people called non-dualists, and they're all about getting people to that exact point where you start to live from actually no judgment, where you go, if Trump is a fuckwad, Trump is just being a fuckwad, and that's what's meant to be occurring, and he's not a fuckwad, he's just a spider eating a fly. That's what spiders do. Without judgment. So there are people in groups working on this thing all the time in that context. And I hear that you're saying you got to it in your own way through question and contemplation and whatever.
And I'm going to add more to it because I did lots of that and I work with people like that. So you take that Trump and so like it's literally calling Trump a fuckwad is like calling a lion mean.
Right.
Right. It's like that. And it's like, but I want to, at some point I want to like, take a big stick and hit some people kind of like they do in the monasteries, like what? Like, whoa, like what the fuck? Don't preach. I'm not saying don't judge him, but then don't preach this shit, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, I'm gonna challenge everything, and I'm gonna say, I have a friend who really goes to the non-dualistic conference. I say, you cause dualism by saying non-dualistic.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, I get that.
Right.
That's why I don't hang with those guys.
And I'll go toe to toe with it, and I don't really care. I'm like all of that, and it's like, but anyways, but the thing about it is, my answer to your question is that what I did was is there was things that like money, like there's nothing wrong here, that we would say like the right thing.
Yeah, of course.
And I just couldn't go forward if I wasn't doing what I'm saying. I'm not perfect, but if I see where my integrity is out, I'm at work on it. Either I'm aligned or I'm at work where I'm not aligned. Right.
Yep.
And stuff like that. So, but the thing about giving my money, the thing about doing that and spending months on that until I go, oh my God, everything that's happening in the world is, that's just happening. And I saw this interesting thing about our own hypocrisies, right? Like if you look at science, first of all, we separate ourselves from nature as if there's nature in us.
Right.
Right. And then we go, oh, if anything happens that doesn't include us out in quote nature, we have one approach. We observe it. We don't judge it. We observe it and we go, I wonder why this is happening. I wonder what part it plays. And we do that with everything except what we do.
Well, some of us do.
But you get my point. It's just,
right.
That's the funny, ironic thing. And then I also got that even that's natural because that's our nature to do things like that.
Right.
And it's the nature of human beings for some people to be over here and some people to be over here.
Right.
And then I just got, there's like big lions and little lions, and there's like conservatives and there's little liberals, and there's like people doing this and that's natural. I don't know because it's happening. And it's like some crazy arrogant thing of like, this shouldn't be happening. That's kind of like, it shouldn't be raining outside.
Exactly. Now, I love that. And that's the thing that like people will criticize, like Cassidy and I I'm currently sitting in Mencos, Colorado, because I drove out here because I was guided to, and Cassidy's sitting in the Bay Area, and my earthly belongings, all 7 of them, are in the Bay Area, and people who criticize the Bay Area, which I love when people criticize the Bay Area, even though I live there, is because we get as provincial and as judgmental on the left as the folks on it's all the same series of judgments of like, we're just correct. We just buy that we're correct. And there's a thing for me where when I was looking at the guidance I keep getting is to move to Colorado. And I had a lot of shit come up around like, wait a minute, people like are okay with guns there. And lots of Republicans are there and it's a red part of the state. And what am I going to do? And then I was like, oh, you're going to sit with that and you're going to clear that judgment and that duality, because or you're going to go there and hate it and leave, or who knows what you're going to do. But like, I've had to, like, I've been plunked right down in the middle of my own dualistic habits on that particular, because you know what? One of my spiritual teacher friends said to me, she was like, I would caution you. She was very gentle. She's like, I would caution you against judging the Republicans, as sometimes Republicans are the most loving, wonderful, nurturing people you'll meet. And I'm like, I know that, of course. I know that from the spiritual mental trainings, but to really internalize that, as you say, I'm not going to pretend I'm good with it until I'm good with it. Because I'm not good with it yet.
Yeah. That's just for me. And that was at that time, 13 years ago, it was about being straight about each of those things.
Yeah.
And I'd say, I'm not going to say it if I am not it. And it's like, or if I'm going to say it, I'm going to say, here's where I'm saying, here's where I'm not it, here's where I'm grappling with. But, and I invite this is not true. And one thing, Katie, is I took on like real practices like that. For instance, like I have a practice around judgment, right? Like a kind of example thing you say, which is the moment I notice like, I'm going, you blah, 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 right? I'm like, interesting. And then my practice is to sit with it until I can find the diametrically opposed or a completely different view of the same thing. Right? Like that. So here's an example. It's just kind of funny because I was in LA and I was meeting with this spiritual film circle and I was not popular. I'm actually, I think I had the list of the most of people of whom I'm not invited back to places more than just about anybody else I know. But anyways, without any bad intention, I wanted to. They were talking, and I was talking, and they were, how can we make film more impactful? And one of the things is I said, I know this person. They go, how evolved is he? And I was like, it's an interesting question, right? So I was like, well, he walks upright, and like that. Because where it was coming from was like, we're evolved, and they're not, and it's like, so. And then I said, guys, I just see an axis. You guys talk about enlightenment and all of this stuff, but then one of the fundamental distinctions of enlightenment or transformation is a world of no judgment. Yes, everybody agrees. Okay, good. Well, then you would consider this thing and you're saying it's better to be enlightened,
right?
Which that immediately negates what it is. And I did it with an authentic heart to hopefully just see a blind spot and open something, right? But anyways, it didn't go well. Very unpopular, but anyways, but the thing about it was, and then there was this other dialogue that came up, and boom, one of them was like, I noticed this thing. I can't remember how it happened, but it triggered this thing about this and rednecks and blah blah blah. And I have an opinion about my ingrained opinion as a liberal of a redneck, right? So then I stop. This is my practice. I stop immediately, and I don't leave, until I've done the meditation to find the opposite end, and it tied into this conversation, which was like, here's a redneck. Okay, good. And then a few minutes of meditation led to this. So one aspect of enlightenment is an ability that life is just the way that it is, right? Perfect the way that it is. And who's more enlightened? Who's more enlightened? Somebody from this community or this group or like liberal left who's raging and righting wrongs in the world and this is wrong and that's wrong and I'm going to fix this and I'm going to crusade for this and all of that. Or this redneck who's sitting in his trailer watching Jerry Springer, drinking a Budweiser and thinks everything is perfect and has no need to change anything. Who's more enlightened?
Right. I hear that. Yeah. That's a great question. Yeah.
And if there was a zombie apocalypse, would you want to be caught in a compound of rednecks or Stanford professors?
That's great. Okay, wait. I have something.
I'm just saying.
No, I have something on this. I have thought deeply about all of this. None of this is news. but I love this conversation. Here's the example I come up to. This is how I frame what you're talking about. I love this, Anurag. First of all, I want to know, you've got to be an 8 on the Enneagram. Have you looked at the Enneagram? You don't care. Who cares?
I've heard about it.
That's too
like that.
that would be octalism, and we don't, or not
Yeah.
ninealism.
Anyway, if you're ever interested, that would be my guess. Number 2 is that when I have watched, okay.
I want to actually say something. At the end of it, it's not just an intellectual exercise. At the end of it, I had a profound experience of connection and love and appreciation for what, quote, a redneck.
Yeah.
I want to be clear. It's not, I'm just throwing out shit. I didn't stop until I had that experience. I mean, for whoever's listening, right?
Yeah.
I just want to be clear. Like that's my commitment.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck me, like these people, like this, that I would want them in my corner in lots of different situations. And this is how it is. And just like that, it's not just a bunch of words. I do the work until that's in my heart.
Dude, our motto on this podcast is do your work.
Yeah.
Because we're right there with you. Until it's real, fucking don't, it's not real.
And I'm adding that because having spoken for a long time, I know that people can hear things only on the surface. And I want to add that for whatever it's worth to deepen what I said.
I understand. I hear you. Thank you. And what I was going to say, and what I'll say now, is straight to the heart of the deepening piece of it, which is to say this. I've watched the Maharishi a lot. You ever watch that guy?
I've seen a couple of clips.
Okay. Well, I've sat deeply with him and how he was a saint, and that's a real thing. And here's how I define what that means. And also what I'm trying to say is there are 2 human beings I've watched who I would say have attained a kind of saintly, fully, I don't know, whatever, completion, like, I don't know, whatever the step is right before you like ascend to be an ascended master, like Jesus, whatever. You never see a saint, like when a saint is on earth, there haven't been a lot of them, or a perfected master. You never see a saint triggered by any creepo that comes to their feet, mad at anybody, telling them to be different. The people who work for the saint are always like, well, you need to be more spiritual to be in the room with the Maharishi. And the Maharishi's like, come, you naked, disgusting, covered in mud, pornographic fucking children, man. I hug you with my hands. He doesn't separate or judge. And the point of being in the presence of that energy is the darshan that comes from it, and the transmission of what it feels like to actually be loved no matter what. And to actually be in the space of no judgment. But what I hold that I think is important is that, like, I'm working every minute to like get as close to whatever my own version is of any of that. And there's owning where we are on the road doesn't stop you from moving forward on the road. You can be like that's what I love about stand-up comedy. Stand-up comedy is where I get up and go, here's how I'm fucked, and here's how this is fucked, and I'm going to talk from my lower self and make jokes about what's fucked. And then tomorrow, Anurag, I'm not going to feel good about myself if I don't then work on those judgments that the show was based on. Because for me, what happens is it stays as a heaviness in my body, and I don't really like that heaviness in my body. So I go to work on it, right? But that doesn't mean I shouldn't have written a show where I took a point of view and had a judgment so that I could face my process and look at things and own and go forward. That's what we're doing. But people separate into like this weird, So the Maharishi never judged any gross guy that came in the room. He was like, I love you too. And when you watch him work with people, it just goes so far for me to show like how it shows up in my reality is like the people in my healing classes and the people I coach and stuff, like, every time I get triggered by them, they do something where they're in their defenses and they push back against me. And I was getting so triggered by a couple people I work with, and I worked with my therapist and I worked with myself and I did my divine stuff. And I found a new piece inside myself of like, oh, look at that. I think that when she does her defenses at me, that means blah, blah, blah about me. And then I had to go do that. And then that unraveled. And then suddenly she could just do her defenses all day and it had nothing to do with me. But if I weren't willing to look at that as a facilitator, because I start to buy the fucking lavender scent of my own feces, that's when you start to rot on the inside and become one of those healer people I don't want to fucking be. I'm not willing to be that person. Anyway, so this is all me attempting to say, I bow to you. I see you. I agree. Namaste, a brother.
We are on a mission from God.
I've been loving your shirt since the moment the camera came on. Are they wearing masks?
No, it's just they're sunglasses. It's just and it's done in a kind of a
right,
like an off kind of not sharp thing.
Right. Oh, I love it.
Set. Yeah.
It's a picture. Sorry, for those who are listening, he has the picture of the Blues Brothers, Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi, the original Blues Brothers, the only true Blues Brothers, on his shirt.
What do you love about his shirt, Cass? Why do you love that?
Because that film is a big part of my childhood. I associate it with my family, with comedy, with truly irreverent, brilliant. That's it. I just love that movie. Super funny.
What do you love about it, Anurag?
Everything he said, the music, the heart, the soul. It's like we can be it's like this. It's everything that this is, but without a soundtrack, which is we can be on a mission and we can be fucking irreverent and funny as hell and we can fucking dance and sing. And this is the way that it's going.
Right. But throughout the movie, like they're causing chaos and stealing cars and making up.
Yeah.
They show up at a country western bar and they don't know it. So they make up songs and and there's cussing and farting and shitting and everything. Like it's all there. And they're on a mission from God the whole time. They keep saying, "Hey, we're on a mission from God. We're on a mission from God," the whole time. It's so good.
Huh.
We're getting the band back together. This is getting the band back together right here.
Yep.
Yep.
It's a great movie. You should check it out. It's fun.
I know. Somehow I missed that movie. I need to watch it.
If you've ever heard me say orange whip, orange whip, orange whip, 3 orange whips, I say that all the time, and only 4 people out of 1,000 know what I'm doing. It's a reference to that movie.
Oh yeah, you got to watch this movie.
Okay, that's my homework for myself tonight. I'm excited.
Excellent.
And it's not the Blues Brothers 2000. That's no. 1976 or something like that, like super early.
It's got Aretha Franklin, Ray Charles. I mean, it's got like.
So, Anurag, what are you up to now, and where are you in the world?
Unless you're hiding, and then you cannot tell us.
In general, I mean, I don't have a home. I keep moving. It's always the best thing. It's the easiest way to keep out of the hands of the authorities. But I've been at home for almost 4 years. Everything I own fits in 2 bags, which I took with me, which is nice. But currently, I'm in Vancouver. Be here, and then over to Salt Spring Island, and then back. I mean, I just got here from the Netherlands.
No, but what's your real reason for traveling all the time? I know you're not on the run. What's it about for you? Is it about like, I don't really need a home, I don't feel like it, or what is it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm not adverse to home, but I've had homes at times. It's like the architecture of my life just is what is the best way to fulfill whatever intention I'm working on.
Yeah.
Right. And ultimately, what I'm working on is I don't know, like always the rebalancing of the planet, harmonization. You know, one of the interesting things about saying these words, and why I hesitated a little bit, is because those words actually describe what I mean: harmonization, harmony in the planet. But so many words that actually say what we mean have been beaten to shit in the public that using them, I feel like I can't get across what it's really about.
I know just what you mean. Yeah.
I actually mean that seriously. I've given every ounce of my being to what will alter the trajectory of the planet towards a harmony and a balance. I don't mean that like a positive, an affirmation. I don't mean that shit at all, right? I'm working on the mechanics of it, the details of it. You know, I'm working on not the board game, but an online platform for what it is for every human being to be able to get source, living aligned life. I'd make it so fun and funny that people would play even if they don't care about alignment. Like, what is that? Working on a life regenerative business model, a model of business that causes, the healing of hearts and transformation of human beings, and it elevates the health of the planet. So the more, instead of consuming or sustainable, the business causes life to flourish. I'm working with people on designing a living space, the ultimate living space project, which is how do we design a living space from scratch, using rammed earth construction, using ancient wisdoms, using the very best in technical systems from the world, Vastu and Feng Shui, indigenous from the Sierra and from the Amazon, energies, and then also technical. What is it to create a living space of a home in the community that literally causes that level of living? It's not just walls. We're in the living business, not the housing business. And so my goal is not to be preaching any of this stuff, but to build the models in which it lives and bring it to human beings like a cell phone. And we go, hey, that works so good, we should do it.
Yeah. But still, I don't get how not, what does the travel piece have to do with that? Is it just lets you have more freedom to?
Yeah, I go wherever. The other part of it is it's a very presence phenomena where I go, the more I work on the purity alignment with myself. So one of the things clear, I'm really clear, like my access to being screwed up is not that I've cleaned everything up, is that I'm constantly, look, where am I full of shit today, right?
Yeah.
As I keep elevating that and clearing that, what keeps coming to me is where I should go next. And I just met some great people in London who can integrate, participate in the project. So there's times where I'm going very intentionally to work on certain things that on these projects. And sometimes I get just drawn into, getting a call, I'll look into it, feels right, I'll go.
Yeah.
It'll be a good match. All of them feed everywhere I go. Lots of things come towards me. And then I choose with discernment what forwards my intention.
Yeah, I get that. Mm-hmm.
The most against what I have in front of me of creating new ways. One of the fundamental principles of me and my body, my team of work, is that we don't criticize anything. We offer compelling alternatives.
Mm-hmm.
So even the things that I shared, I'm not attached to any of those things. There's the intention; those may lead to other things, but whatever creates compelling alternatives that we don't make landlines wrong or vinyl wrong. We just offer a compelling, and everybody goes, oh, I like this a lot better. It doesn't matter whether you're Republican or liberal. It doesn't matter whether you're East or West or whatever like that. You got it. If we succeed, it should be so good everybody uses it, and nobody should know it came from us because everybody cares. Like likes to think, as like this. I like to have, just like to do my work. Don't have a website, nothing. No, I don't have a public game. I just really, it should live in the work, not in the person.
Mm.
But where's the profit in the credit line?
I'm perfectly happy. Somebody else can have that shit. I don't care. My life is simple. I'll keep it that way.
Mm-hmm. I'm having a kind of a moment of clarity as you're talking. I've been sitting with this question for a while about why the divine has me in Mancos, Colorado. Like, what the fuck? Like, I try to just follow and go, whatever. But I just was listening to you and going, let me think if I can. The energetic vibrational frequency for me of this area, combined with the altitude, the altitude itself takes me into a space of I don't know how to explain it. The spaciousness here and the connection with the earth, the way the earth is so prominent and prevalent, but so spiritually aligned. It's like I feel like I was telling Cassidy before you came on today, I got here and it's been a series of miracles, one after the other, that I have nothing to do with. I just step outside and crazy shit is happening that's mind blowing. And as you were talking, I was just grokking in my body that's because the vibration here matches the vibration of my spiritual alignment. It's just a match is all it is. It's a frequency match. And that allows me to be of maximum service, at least right now. And that may change tomorrow, or it may change in 3 months, or it may never change. I don't know what'll happen. But anyway, I just kind of got that while you were talking.
Cool. Yeah.
So thank you.
And a lot of that is what drives my travels, is whatever feels. I'm getting more and more sensitive to flow.
Yeah.
And I keep landing, and it's actually pretty funny because almost 4 years ago was the second time when I gave away everything. I purposely keep my net worth at zero. I don't accumulate anything. After these times in the jungle, I got deep in the jungle, like deep with some ancient wisdoms, and got into living that. It's like doing the equivalent of living off the land, but in the urban landscape. I just earn what I need. Just that I don't put more on my horse, and that I don't put more in my bank account. And it keeps me so present and clear.
Yeah.
And then I get drawn towards those resonances that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And so the more that I have and the more self-interest that I have, the more it blocks my ability to feel those things you're saying. That's what I got. And I'm not telling anybody you should do what I'm doing. I'm just telling you this is how it is for me. It keeps me clean and pure and great.
Yeah.
And when I'm working on stuff, I'm working on it for its purpose, not because I need anything. I always have enough for what I need. And that's not very much.
Yeah. I hear you.
This COVID happened and a bunch of stuff shut down. It's like no threat because I don't have anything. It's like just okay. It's all
I
good.
understand. So, do you have some questions for we're here to, part of our intention is to open your Akashic records and see things, but if you don't have any need of that, we don't have to. You wanna?
I actually don't like. I actually did some. This is so actually, but here, let me say. I got present to something as I was starting to think about the questions and looking for the questions.
Yeah.
This, that. I went online. I like to do things thoroughly and with respect. And I looked at all the common questions, and I don't have any of those questions.
Yeah,
and,
I figured. Yeah.
I'm like good. Like I've done this work for a while, and it's here's one of the things when you said I could bring questions. I just want to acknowledge this. It was really great because it landed me with an appreciation of something.
Yeah.
I don't want anything.
Yeah.
And I've been working, actually, I've known that for a while and I've been working on that and I work with others on that. But I got it kind of at an interestingly deeper level. I was going through this question. So that's handled for me, that's handled, that's handled. And it's like, and then I was like, oh, what questions could I come up with that aren't any of those? I was like, I don't know. How can I become Kanye's running mate for the presidency? Will I need to brush like a woman? And if so, will I need to shave my goatee? Those are the only questions I could but because I think that would be pretty funny. But other than that, it brought me to a couple of things that I don't know. I'm going to share them because it was an invitation to something. So I got no questions. I don't want to be anywhere other than I am. I don't need to, and I'm like, that's kind of cool.
It's fucking cool.
It's kind of cool. But so here's the thing. So about 10 years ago, I, did this job because one of the things all of my work is about what makes an impact on humanity. Sometimes I finance that. I do really high-end corporate work. Sometimes I haven't for a while, but people pivot. I helped to do a turnaround in a business. They sold the business for a lot. My commission on it was $1 million, whatever. And so then I got $1 million. My partner was like, "Oh my God, $1 million hit our bank account, blah blah blah. We could do anything, and what do you want to buy? What do you want to buy?" And I thought about it. Like I didn't want to buy anything. And here's the thing, Katie. It was funny. Cassidy was like, I thought I was numb. I was like numb because it didn't excite me at all. It didn't make any difference to me.
Yeah.
$1 million just hit the bank account, and so I thought it should be exciting, like something. So I was worried actually about myself.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I spent a few days meditating on it.
Yeah.
Until I got, holy shit, I don't care. And I actually, there's nothing I wanted to buy because I actually had everything that I wanted, which is not a lot, but I actually, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I know exactly what you're saying.
Like I actually thought because of the background programming, it's so pervasive, right?
Yep.
I actually thought I was numb or something was wrong because I wasn't celebrating it like everybody else.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Until I actually got I actually one of the moments of being proud of myself, or at least happy, peaceful with myself. Like I actually had achieved something I was committed to.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing.
I give a fuck about that. It was like,
yeah.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
Was it truly a non-attached I don't care, or was there any of the other end of it of like, oh, I actually feel shitty about having this amount of money? Was there any of that?
It was like nothing. Like it was like him saying like $10 hit the bank account, or do you want a coffee from Starbucks? It was like nothing.
Wow.
I had like nothing going on, and it took me 2 days to be okay that I had nothing going on.
Right, you were sitting in judgment of your own lack of reaction.
And I go, wait a minute, this is what I've been working towards, and it was like then I celebrated not having any celebration. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
But guys,
you're living I strive definitely to some form of that consciousness.
Yeah. Well, I'm sharing it because it was a profoundly pivotal, pivotal moment, and it leads me to this thing about asking the questions, and then then I moved to other spaces, deep into the work of self, myself here, deep in the jungle, all these different things, and then the second point to that trajectory happened just this past January. It was a revelation, which is I was flying back from India. I take my mom to India every winter for visiting family in Ayurvedic, and I'm watching the movies on the plane. I was watching Aladdin, and this is one of the coolest moments of my life. So I finished watching Aladdin, and I think you can't watch a movie like that and you go, what would I do with 3 wishes? What would I do with 3 wishes? What would I do with 3 wishes? I wouldn't do anything with 3 wishes.
Huh.
It wasn't just the money. So this is a hint, Katie. I was like looking at the questions, and then I got that in January. Then when you said you have any questions, and I really dug into like there must be something. And in this thing of Earth, Mother, and nature, and how everything is natural and it flows. And I started to see how everything serves a purpose. And I so don't mean, guys, like this is the thing. I don't mean this as a cliche and a platitude and affirmation. Like the effort of the muscle to build the muscle and the frequenters and its soreness and how that is and all that feels and how all of it is necessary. And I'm like, I don't want any of that removed. But and not like up here, but in my heart, in my bones, I can fucking feel it. Like everything is exactly as it should be. Every ounce of my struggle. And it's like I wouldn't say, hey, I'm going to help you get in shape, Cassidy, and help you lift the weight. I would just have you lift the weight, and I would get behind you in the struggle of it, right? And one of the things, I've been so in the world of what is people's joy and fulfillment. And some years ago, I got that people have a poor relationship with effort, because if you're like, say, an expert skier, you don't want to ski an easy hill. You want the effort, right? And stuff like that. So you want to bring effort to that thing. Lately, I've been going, I think the entire fulfillment is in the effort. Like if you give it everything in cleaning your closet, you're like, woohoo! It's the thing about I'm still working on the words and the articulation of it, right? But don't take away any of that, because that's where the juice is. You know what? I was working with Cafe Gratitude once and stuff like that. And how do we make our menu more exciting? I said, and I challenged. They didn't do it, but I said, you want to make a meal really tasty, because you're talking about community and doing things. Go and take people on a strenuous 2-hour hike and watch how that impacts. That's the ingredient for the food. You know what I'm saying? Watch how
yes.
You know what I mean?
No, I'm with you. That's
and it's like, oh, it's like that. So I hit this thing in January, like, holy shit, I have no use for a wish. I would love with my whole heart to translate that and to bring that to, I haven't got it sorted, but, and I went through, got online, I looked at questions to ask Akashic Records and this and funny. I want to honor whatever I do. I'm irreverent, but I'm irreverent and respectful.
Yeah, because you're an 8 on the Enneagram. Carry on.
That's right.
Katie has diagnosed you.
Hey guys, I'm an 8 on the Enneagram. You got that on my business card.
By the way, Katie's an 8, so she's trying to align with her admiration of you. I'm just kidding. I'm getting dirty.
I'm saying what is, but carry on.
Right. But anyways, the thing is, so I looked at it and I looked at all these, like, they would be like, I had great questions to answer, but I got nothing. I wanted to make sure that I have like anything, and I just have it really brought me forth in preparing for this and trying to find something. I had this beautiful joy of not being able to find anything.
Well, congratulations. Thank you for sharing. I identify, and I'm going to tell a story now about how much I identify. Ready?
Bring it.
Listening.
Okay. So a while ago, I've had this list. Let me think. Okay. When I started to do healing work kind of as a business, it was a side thing in addition to my acting and stand-up comedy. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to make some extra cash as a healer because I can. And I'm good at it and it helps people. Cool. Then it just became its own thing, which my ego did not like, because I was identified with actor. It's like cooler, sexier, funnier, awesome, part of the cool to be an actor and a comedian. Healer is like, wah, wah. So then the healing business started getting bigger and bigger despite me. Couldn't stop it. I mean, I could have stopped it, but I wasn't going to stop it. So then I started making X amount of dollars per month. And I thought, I wonder if I could make Y amount of dollars per month without effort. My commitment was like, what would it take energetically for me to align so deeply that I could pray or ask or open or receive twice as much as I'm pulling in? So I did a bunch of energy frequency work, and then that happened. I don't want to talk about actual numbers, but let's just talk about it in terms of like increments of $5,000. Okay. Let's say then my next question became like, what would I have to do internally, energetically, to align with $5,000 more just magically showing up in my life every month? Are you with me?
Yep.
Okay. So I did that, and it got to a certain number that I thought, wow. I started looking back at my bank account every few, the months behind me, going like, 6 months of every month I brought in that many $5,000. I did not try hard. I just showed up, did what was required. I would do things like, hey guys, I'm teaching a class, but then the only effort I would apply would be spiritual and internal and energetic. Like I would clean out energetically anything in the way of receiving people who would benefit from time with me.
Right.
Then I would clear out everything in the way of receiving that number. Then I would clear out anything in the way of receiving clean forms of service where I'm contributing, I'm fulfilled, they're getting something out of it, and it's clean exchange. So then I got to this certain number of $5,000 in the bank account per month. And I thought, okay, obviously the next step here is $5,000 more dollars. Like, now we go to this number because that's then you could have more options, Katie. Then you could travel more. Then you could buy a jet ski because I love to jet ski. Then you could whatever.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Okay, then I had a problem because I hit this place where I went for like a bunch of months. It was like this. I was looking around. I was just looking around and being like, I know what to do. I could sit down and do my energy work and clear everything in the way of another $5,000 per month. And I realized I remember the moment I realized that I was driving up the South Regatta, which is a street to my apartment. And there's this beautiful water view there. And I'm driving up to my beautiful 2-bedroom on the water. And I'm like, well, obviously now it's about buy a home and it's about have all the marble cabinets and whatever. The next thing is the next thing, right? In the American dream. And you have to understand though, let me give you a little context. I spent many, many years functioning I just go from acting job to acting job and I don't give a fuck about money. It was all about like fulfillment and doing fun stuff. Like I just wanted to be an actor because it was fun. And I did that a long time and didn't give a fuck about money. So then the next step was to be like, yeah, but what if I gave a fuck about money? And how would what would that do? And how much easier would my life be? And so hence this story, right? So I get to this place now where I'm driving up the street and I realize I don't care to sit down and do more energy work to clear more space to receive more money. And it really fucked me up for a few weeks, like, because I had to go, wait a minute. If I'm not in pursuit of that, what matters? Who am I? And what matters?
Zoolander. There's again.
That's right. And then I get guided very clearly to go to the southwest corner of fucking Colorado, which to my mind feels like fucking butt ass nowhere. And I'm sitting here with you right now, getting the download that the frequency of what I am as an energy body matches the frequency of the portal of this piece of land. So what am I? I am.
Oh, you're frozen up.
Interesting timing.
What am I? I am frozen. I do not exist.
I am. She said I am, and that's where it stopped. And that's, I guess, no more profound words were ever spoken, and the universe has stopped it right there before she turns it into a lie.
Oh, this is beautiful. Like, yeah, you can't make this into a lie.
No,
exactly.
No, that's it. No, that's it.
If you say it, you have to be it. This is the deal we made earlier.
That's right. I am. That's it. That's right. Anything else you say will be inaccurate.
If only Katie were here to hear all this genius.
We are currently experiencing technical difficulties. We will be back in a moment.
Katie in the car.
Hello.
Hey.
We have no electricity, no Wi-Fi, so I'm in my car and I can hear you again.
Good.
With my dog.
You're pretty choppy.
Hi, puppy. All right, can you guys hear me or not?
We can.
No, that's the whole story I was gonna tell, is that like I just am. In other words, the end of the story was to say, and I want to be real about this because there are pieces of this I am very much not resolved around. So, but here's the whole fucking point, right? I didn't have motivation anymore to make more dollars. And let's be clear, okay? I don't make enough dollars now for anybody to actually be impressed. I just make enough dollars for like a working artist healer to like have a nice, comfortable middle-class life. Like I'm just a normal amount of money person now. I was just like a broke actor. Now I'm like a comfortable, can live in a nice place actor. I'm not a millionaire. And so my point being, to not go higher or to have no drive to go further with the making of the more numbers, it just has put me in this deep question of like, okay, well, is it actually enough? Is it actually enough? Like to Anurag's point about, we can all say spiritual coachy, languagey words, but is it actually enough for me to live at this number for the rest of my life? Like, what if I was, because here's the thing I come up against is, what if I was just painfully average for the rest of my life? Like right now, I'm like not poor and I'm not rich and I'm comfortable and I seem to not need to pursue much more. And what if that's like, could that be okay? Because to me, it doesn't even terrify me to be flat broke, because that feels like I don't know, I've done that. This is like almost like worse from my judgment mind of just being like a normal American lady. Like, I'm like, well, what do you fucking do with that? And so I'm sitting with those judgments and seeing like what that will change things into, because I don't have an answer. I don't know.
I have a couple of things to offer around that are very pivotal in my work right now. Do look at that. And just before I do that, the one thing that I think that you could have to spend absolutely none of your energy on is ever worrying about being normal. But that's just my view. If you want to worry about that,
well, I mean,
none of us are going to worry about that, about dating being just a normal average person, but feel free.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm just narrating for, of course not. Like I'm just narrating what the thing is that comes up for me.
Yeah, just having fun. One of the things that 3 years ago turned my work around hugely was, so in an old world of this and business stuff like that, I had a good reputation and made my income and stuff like that. I would always meet and exceed any target put in front of me. And it could be a business target. It could be a transformation of a relationship or a family, transformational, organizational performance. It was a matter of my existence. I would work until it was succeeded. That's what I could be counted on for. And then all of that world ran out because it still wasn't producing the impact in people in the world and the world that I wanted. I thought it would, and I was wrong. And the thing about it was, the point of navigation was, where are we getting to? What is the picture? What does it look like? And I exhausted that approach, and it was empty. And then I was disrupted, and then something born from it that has been gold or whatever, which is the point of navigation. Where are we getting to? I could provide certainty. Here's what it would look like. I couldn't provide certainty on what your experience is going to be. Now, the point of navigation is not where you're getting to, but where are you coming from? And if you're navigating no compromise where you're coming from, I promise the opposite. I can promise you for sure you have no idea what it's going to look like where you end up. I can promise you you have no idea.
That's right.
But I can also promise you wherever you end up, you'll be at home.
That is the essence of my work with people, because people say to me, how many sessions will I need to blah, 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 blah? And I go, I have no idea. And I'm also not in the business of getting you to where you think you're going. I'm in the business of clearing what's in the way of you being actually you, and you being in alignment with and surrendered to the source of all that is, whatever that looks like for you. So it may look very different than what you think it should look like, but that's the business I'm in, because alignment and surrender and following is the whole thing to me.
But then if you were to do that with yourself, then you don't have to worry about whether you end up average or anything else. All there is staying true to that is the only goal.
No, of course. I know. I'm just telling you the nugget that I'm sitting with right now.
I got it. Well, one of the interesting things I found in working with people, right up to Katie, I became somebody who was also coached teachers, gurus, facilitators, companies that train trainers, like all of that, right? And I saw the same pattern everywhere, which is people do some of this work, and it's even promoted this way. A lot of the work is promoted this way, also like that. But here's what you can get. Here's where you can get to, right?
Totally.
And it's like, for me, that's off. So it's like they do some of the work and they start to true up, which I have true. For me, it's like the trunk of the tree, the roots of the tree. They start to true up and it starts to bear fruit. Business gets better. They get more $5,000 bits to become more attractive, whatever it is. And then they stop doing what produced that and they start chasing the fruit.
That's right.
And the only thing to focus on is stay true and let whatever fruit comes ripen fully and fall in your lap, and keep staying true and keep staying true. And even at the higher level, at the level of teacher facilitators, they would get into trouble chasing money and sex and stuff like that. But it's the same thing. It's the moment you go to chasing the outcomes of the work, it's no longer the work.
That is 100% it. And I'll tell you what, I have seen that exact phenomenon in every single system I've studied of healing and empowerment, and all the systems I have had to leave all of them because everybody running them is no longer after the thing they're selling us that they're saying that they're after.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. And I keep telling people, all I can promise you is the work. I'm not promising you no outcomes.
Yeah, dude. And that's an interesting thing to sell people.
I tell people, don't come to this. Or if I'm going to a workshop, don't come. If you want to answer to life and life being easier, if you don't want more work to do and just like make your, like that, don't come. This is about, but it's, putting sweat and effort into shit that really, and how you love to live. But if you want answers and life easier, I am not the person to participate.
Well, this has been a delight for me, Anurag. Thank you for being here. I'm happy as a clam to not have to work for you. To not open the records is just fine by me. I'm thrilled to. It's just so good too, I think, for people to hear someone like yourself talk about everything you've talked about today.
Talk about doing the work. That's it. Do your work.
Just do the work right now. It's just like doing the work right now. It's like exercising today. It's like cooking today. If you really love the game of life, if you love play soccer, you play with everything you ask right now. And you don't play because you want to get to the end of the game. You play because you love to play.
Yeah.
You play an instrument. You don't try and get to the end of the song. It's because you love to play. You put all of your effort. You do the work now. Do it because you love doing it. And living that way, being screwed up. And then you see, maybe you win the game, maybe you don't. You see, like, it's not complex. It's not complex.
Right. I was thinking about that very concept when I pulled into this little tiny town, and there's this performing arts center that's attached to the high school. They have this like it's like a little funky town, and then there's a state-of-the-art high school, of course, because all the money goes to the kids. And then there's this state-of-the-art performing arts center. And already I know what's going to happen. I'm going to rent that performing arts center, and I'm going to do an irreverent, insane stand-up comedy show there, and I'm going to get hundreds of people to come because that's what I do. But not because I think someone's going to see it and, take me to Hollywood. It's because I need to do the joke. I love to tell the joke. And I'm not always resolved about any of this stuff, but I do know that like when I'm doing well, I always come back to like, well, what would be fun? I also have a question that someone gave me at a certain point where they said, if you had all the money in the world, what would you choose? Like if it weren't about that you had to make money doing it, what would you choose? And for me, I come back to like, I would put on some irreverent shows that empower people and enlighten people and make them laugh. And I would have this doggy and we would have a nice breakfast. And then I would hang out with my friends and I'd do some healing work. And like that, I would do exactly what I'm doing right now. And whenever I get lost, if I'm like doing too much of this and not enough of that, or I'm out of balance, I come back to like, well, okay, what's missing? Like, what do you need to be doing or being that would bring you back into balance? Like sometimes I'll do too many healing sessions and not enough creative stuff, or I'll do too much creative stuff and I'm not filling the tank with light. And so I have to like, my point is, my life doesn't look on the outside the way any of this, like as a healer, I know what the next steps are to become what America understands is like a visible, famous healer person. And I know what the next steps are to do the comedian, famous Netflix. But like what seems to work for me is this weird shaped, makes no sense, do a show, see some clients, lead a class, go on vacation, pet the dog. It doesn't look like anything recognizable. And that's truer for me than the other things that I spent a lot of years when I was younger trying to make my life look how I thought other people's approval, I would gain other people's approval if my life looked a certain way. Now I'm like, yeah, but I don't care what it looks like. I care what it feels like inside of me.
Yeah, striving for
End
that.
of rant.
Looking for that. The 3 in me struggles with that every single minute.
Well,
Yeah,
whenever I throw this thing out there, like, so I've been working on this thing. I plant the seed with you. If it grows, it grows. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So the world, actually, in the age of the Blues Brothers, we're putting the band back together. We're creating a band. Whatever is so like the thing of the alignment game is about making it ridiculously funny and fun, and looking at some comedic writing there also. So I bring this to everything. So I'm actually working with these guys in the Ultimate Living Space project. These guys who do construction with this rammed earth construction. It's incredible material. It's also the healthiest construction on the planet. And, we actually did literally the stupidest, most hilarious videos imaginable for a conference of international mold doctors, because mold and fungus doesn't grow on this. And we did this thing about this and a conspiracy about how this group Firewall is promoting how bad fungus is so they can sell billions of dollars of construction. And then we did this other thing about, no, the conspiracy is the other way, that, the 3 little pigs, there was actually 4 little pigs, and the 4th pig, though, lived in a Firewall house, and it was taken out of history because they didn't want you to know about this kind of construction. And it was just ridiculous. Anyway, one of the things we realized about all of this is that we may not be a company of any of the things that I'm working on. We may create. Actually, we've committed to this. I don't know how and when. Let's say it like this. Punches and seed, guys, for all of you. I think one of the things to do is to create a company organization that's a media company. And all it does is make really hilarious media that is effective as well at how to X.
Yeah.
Whether it's this, whether it's how to transform, whether it's how to do this rammed earth construction. And we had the most hilarious times, and it landed so well. And we just realized that's all we want, is to make people fucking laugh at everything, but also be effective at the same time. So we have this vision of creating this, starting with the Olympic game and other things. But it's like, we just think actually we want people to bring anything that they want to present, train people in, and we'll make it ridiculous, funny as hell and effective.
High five.
Yes. Well, that's a perfect time. I think it's heading up on our 2-hour mark, and we can definitely thank you so much. Katie, I'm so glad you were able to get back on.
Yeah. Thanks for your patience, everybody. I like that, Anurag. Hilarious and effective.
Yeah.
Why not?
Whoever wants to work on that, that's what I'm out to do, is to pioneer. I think that could change everything. And and my whole premise is, don't do it in order to do anything. Do it because you love playing that game.
Mm.
Anybody who would love to participate in that and create that as an entirely new phenomena, I'm like, come on, bring it. Let's create it. Let's put this shit together.
I have 7,000 ideas for you, so we'll have to have some more conversations
I only
offline.
allow people who have 8,000 ideas. So when you have another 1,000, then you can give me a call.
Oh.
Well, fuck you.
You got to make your list longer.
Setup. I had to take it. Excuse me.
I love you guys. Thank you for everything. I'm going to hang up because I have to go deal with electricity now.
All right. See ya.
Do the work, Katie.
Thank you for being with us, Anurag.
That was the weirdest thing. All right. Bye, Katie. Anurag, thank you so much. It was a blast having you on.
It was fun. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right. You can hang up now, too. We say goodbye.
See you guys.
Do the work.
What are you asking for? All of the answers? Say what? All of the answers? Yeah, all the answers.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. We'd love to hear from you. Please email us with your questions so that we have questions to answer in the Akashic Records. Our email address is allanswerspod@gmail.com. That's allanswerspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to find us on Facebook or Twitter, it's @allanswerspod, @allanswerspod. Thank you.
So what am I? I am that frequency. Oops, can you guys hear me? Hello? That was weird. Hello? Huh. Wow.
That was a Sounds Awesome production.